what I want to talk about today is probably one of the most probably globally groundbreaking policies ever introduced. Specifically, we're talking about China's one-child policy. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is because it's probably one of the most relevant topics um, to Malthusian theory. Specifically, and I'll add this sort of beneath the title here. Specifically, what this really is, right? This is a real world example of a preventative Malthusian check, which is quite interesting, right? Because this is a preventative Malthusian check. Note that previously, you know, previously we discussed preventative checks, that were um, naturally occurring slash existed because of, they came into existence precisely because of, individual choice. But the question is, sometimes it may be necessary for the state to make a decision on behalf of its people, right? Um, Sometimes it's necessary for a state to make a decision on behalf of its people. And that's where it gets interesting, right? Because obviously the one-child policy was this state created idea, and it was necessary to some extent because the population was facing a very extreme strain from sort of the young side, who were, as you know, when you're in a young age, you are consuming a lot, but you're not necessarily producing a lot. And so one thing that is true, that is not discussed enough in our optimal population, is in our essay. So in our essay on the optimal population, it is absolutely critical to also discuss the distribution of optimal uh, optimal population, right? It is absolutely critical to discuss the distribution of optimal population because, you could have a country, you could have two sort of countries, right? You could have one country that has a higher population per unit of land, but maybe their whole population is the working age and working class citizen. So they generate a lot of income and the money can pay for everything, right? But maybe on the other hand, there is some sort of counter country that has the same dynamics, except they have a very large, um, they have an incredibly large concentration of children in the population. And, these children are not income generating. So this is hugely problematic for the economy, right? This is hugely problematic for the economy. How can we respond to this? There needs to be some kind of change that occurs. And so the thing to consider, the thing to really consider here is, you know, is it necessary, or is it possible to just let this naturally correct? And in the case of China's one-child policy, this was seen as something that absolutely required state intervention, which is why it came into existence. So anyway, let's have a look at sort of some of the material here, just to give you a sort of overview. But the point is, the reason for this presentation is because this is a very valid real-world example of Malthusian check. Okay, it is a incredibly valuable real-world example of the Malthusian preventative check. That's exactly what this is, right? A Malthusian preventative check.